Let's see, we're at 11:01. We'll give everybody a couple more minutes. Any other questions? Fire away if you do. It's all for you guys. I can tell you what, just based on experience, I've been doing this photo in 2021. I started in 2002, so almost 20 years, man. This is a crazy market. I mean, I lived through 05, 6, 7, which was insane. And right now, I mean, this is the craziest February I've ever seen. Usually February, I'm like dead. And I was on my phone last night. I counted it out from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. I got 43 phone calls. I mean, what I was like, what is going on here? Yeah. All right, we're at 11:02. People are logging in. I'll kind of do a little slow intro, and then hopefully we'll get everybody else in there. So good morning, everybody. Mark Stipkovich, I'm with Lawyer's Title. Normally you would have Serena on the call sort of regulating my behavior and telling you guys what to cover, but I'm sorry. I'm going rogue here today. She's got she's dealing with some family stuff right now. So we wish her the best. She'll be back soon, but she needs some emotional support and some free time. So probably another reason why I got 42 phone calls from 4 to 7, because some were from her for her. So this is all about you guys as people keep logging in. As I said, we're here for you. We're here to help you. The point of today is to discuss farming best practices, right? And I know some of you on the call have a farm set up. Great. Some of you don't. Some of you are thinking about it. So I'm going to start kind of from A to Z and try to pack a lot into the hour to help everybody on the call as much as possible. Feel free to, I see that we got a lot of videos. Please put your video on, because if you don't, I have you kind of blocked out. I can see you talk, but I have you blocked out. And feel free to ask questions. Slow me down. I tend to go pretty quick. If something doesn't make sense, breeze over it. No question is a bad question. We're all here to learn. Majority of the people on the call, I think, are within their first year or two in the business. So this is all about education. And I'm going to pack a lot into this hour. Okay. So slow me down if I'm going a little bit too fast. Okay. So, and then the other thing you said, I see a lot of faces in here that we haven't had one-on-ones with. Hopefully you've had it with Serena. If you have not, schedule it with her, schedule it with me. We need to do a one-on-one, at least actually multiple one-on-ones when it comes to at least our products, tools, and services. Last weekend, we covered a lot of the products and tools, and today we're going to focus on farming and best practices. We still have people kind of logging in. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share here. And we are going to start with Title Pro 247, which we talked a lot about last week, but I'm going to focus on the farming aspect of this. So let me move this out of the way. All right. So all of you guys should have an account set up, titlepro247.com. I'm going to copy a link and I'm going to put it into the share. Usually this is Serena's job for me. Where do I go? Edit video, share. Here we go. Let's put that into the chat here. Okay, this is a little YouTube video here. Okay, the YouTube video has a lot in it. I'm not gonna go into this, but it kind of is gonna do a little synopsis of what we did last week. But when you log into it, you can let me get rid of this. Geez, a lot of stuff on my screen. There's a table of contents here. Okay, so you can see I have it set up here with what time you want to go forward, right? So listen premium, which is kind of like farming. I have sorting Excel files in here, which a lot of you guys who aren't familiar with Excel, it's a really good little 2-minute video there. And then mail merging is a little 3-minute video there. And then I get into Title Pro, which is what we covered last time. So quick little easy video that you can fast forward and get the information that you need. So I'm going to come in here to Title Pro 247. Everybody in here should have an account. If you don't, reach out to me afterward. We will get you set up. This is vital. We use this every single day in our business. And I'm going to give you kind of a small example of a problem I was dealing with yesterday. I think of my 42 calls during that period of time, 7 of them were one particular problem. But let me see if I go to my email and see if I can pull it up here. Give you a real life example. of stuff we run into and why using these websites is very important. There we go. So this is a deal that we have going on right now, and that's not the right one, of course, is it? I feel like I'm stalling here. Anyway, I'm going to go back because I don't want to take too much time on this. But the reality is there was a property listed, and the APN came out, and it only had 2 APN numbers. Each one of these little squares is an APN number, right? It's a lot. And had 2 APNs included in the property. Well, when I went online, I started clicking around because this is up in the hills. There was actually 4 APNs by that owner. Our title company missed 2 of them. So not only did I have to add them to a report, but when I was talking to the agent when they bought it, they sent me a survey, and a survey kind of listed 5 different properties. And I was like, why is this one particularly listed in the property? He goes, because we thought they were buying it when they were purchasing it, because the agent hadn't gone in and sort of clicked around and figured out which one was owned by certain people. So this thing, when you're doing a cookie cutter house sale like this, no big deal. But when you're up in the hills, Malibu, Topanga, Sylmar, Santa Clarita, you need to know, a lot of these properties have multiple APN numbers, multiple lots. You need to make sure they're all being included. And then the agent isn't advertising one that's not actually theirs. So keep that in mind. That's why this is a very handy tool. But I digress. I'm going to get into farming. So I think I mentioned last time, whenever we meet, whenever you're going to choose a farm area, and a lot of you guys on this call are probably going to try to do a lot of this on your own, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But the first thing to think about is, and I get these emails all the time, right? An agent says, I want to market to Woodland Hills, right? That's fantastic. There's 24,000 homes in Woodland Hills. I had an agent 2 weeks ago say, hey, I need to find a home in Thousand Oaks. Send me all the homeowners in Thousand Oaks. 40,000 homes in Thousand Oaks. Okay, a typical farm, and when we talk about farming, we're talking about geographic farming. There's lots of different farming out there, and I'll talk about it. But really, the reality is we're looking for like a square city block, right? So here we are in Woodland Hills, and this is Oxnard, Burbank, Shoup, Fallbrook, a small little block, right? And if I come in here and I exit out and add that over here, there's 364 homes right in this little block with a huge park right in the middle. If that huge park wasn't there and the school wasn't over here, we'd probably be more like 450, 500 homes, right? And so when we're thinking about geo farming, we need to think about time and budget. How much time do we have? How much money do we have, right? Because we have to touch these people on a consistent basis, twice a month for 18 months for this stuff to work, right? So if I choose a farm of 500 and it's going to cost me $300 for every single mailer, I need to budget that $300 for the next 18 months. And if I can't budget that, I need to go smaller. If I can go bigger, I go bigger, okay? But that's the reality of it. When we first start, we want to make sure we are highly, highly consistent with our touches. So I'd rather you go smaller and be hyper consistent than bigger and hit them every other month, because that's not going to be as effective. Okay, so that's kind of number one, is know how many homes you're thinking about, and then keep in mind that a little square block anywhere here in the valley, it doesn't matter where we go, most of these blocks are around 500 homes. All right, so I'll clear again. So let me backtrack a second. So up here, this is where our home and reports, this is our property profiles. I'm in lists, right? So I click on lists, I can go to geography, I can go to map again, and then I'll click on satellite for those of you that are following along. I can type in an address, I can go wherever I want, I can zoom around the map. This works nationwide. But you can see all these little squares, all these little blocks, right? And any block that I grab, I can come up here and press the little pencil, and I can click, 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 click. I should get something that says add. Thank you. And we got like 737 properties right there. That's just properties now. So I come in here to property. I go to property type. I can add residential, single families, 724, right? So I grabbed a very similar block in Woodland Hills, and it was 330 or 340. I grabbed the same block in, I think we're in Reseda area, and there's 724. Why is that? The lot sizes are smaller. The ones in Woodland Hills were probably 10, 12,000 square feet. These are probably like 6,500 square feet, right? So much more packed into a small area. I think around the average block, think around 500, right? But you can see there's a lot more here. All right. Next, let's say we like this particular area on the map. Okay, so this is the area that I pulled. I just want to figure out where I am so we can at least speak intelligently. So Corbin, Winnetka, Saticoy, Strathern. If I click on a property here, looks like we're in Reseda, right? So let's say I like this area. I know this area. Let's talk a little bit about how we choose an area before I get into that. Choosing an area when you're going to be geo-farming, you really want to understand it. You want to know it. You want to like it. You want to know the schools, the restaurants. You need to be familiar with it. You don't want it to be too far from your home. It doesn't have to be your neighborhood. Marketing your neighborhood's great. I think if you have a family, a wife, kids, dogs, you exercise, you walk around the neighborhood, that you're very visible in the neighborhood, then I do think marketing your neighborhood has benefits because people see you all the time. That's marketing in and of itself. But it doesn't have to be your neighborhood. Some people like it, some people don't. But you don't want it to be too far from where you live, because if you do plan on door knocking, it looks like, we're hopefully coming to a close here with COVID and we'll get back to normal life. If you're going to door knock, you don't want to have to drive 30, 40 minutes to your farm to go door knock, right? You want it to be moderately convenient. Again, you want to like it, understand it, and make yourself the area expert there. Price point is a consideration. Let's be frank. I'm going to back up here. As I said, I've been doing this almost 20 years. There isn't an area here that isn't farmed by multiple agents anywhere. Okay? You're not going to find an untapped area. But what I will say is that up here, there's a lot more heavily marketed than as you move north. The middle is kind of like probably less people marketing or less consistent. And then as you go the other way, more people marketing up here. Why? Well, these are million plus. These are million plus. This is everything in between, right? So typically with your first farm, you might not want to walk into south of the boulevard, Sherman Oaks, south of the boulevard, Studio City, certain things like that, because you're going to be going up against people that have been doing it 20, 30 years. That doesn't mean you can't market it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't market it. It just means you got to know what you're walking into, right? But then again, if you sell a $2 million home, it's like selling 4 $500,000 homes. So you have to take that in consideration as well. So once we've kind of chosen an area here that we like and we're kind of researching a little bit, a couple things I'd say to do is run this in the MLS, find out who the dominant agents are. So you'll do the same thing in the MLS, just circle it up, you pull what's been sold in the last 12 months, and keep a little check mark next to agents' names, who's popping up a lot. A top agent, usually number one in the market, will do about 15, 20% of the market. They'll do about 1 out of every 5 transactions. If you catch an agent in there that's doing 40% of the deals, you might want to look for a new area. They got that thing pretty locked down. Maybe you find 2 agents that are pretty dominant in there. The reality is I don't want it to, I want you to know what you're walking into. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Know who your competition is, know who you're walking into against. And ideally, you want to walk into those areas where it's not really dominated by an agent. It's pretty sort of wide open, okay? Because 50% of deals come straight from referrals. So that's the next thing, research on the MLS, but also we'll come in here and I want to look at turnover ratio, right? You're going to hear turnover ratio from a lot of different people out there. I'm not a huge believer in turnover ratio, but I do want to know what it is and I want to understand what it is before I walk into a farm area. So to do that, I'll come in here and I'll hit, again, property, last transaction recording date. And I'm going to go 01/01 2019 to 01/01 2021. Now, why did I choose those dates? This particular system runs about a month behind, if you want to think about it in terms of the data that get dumped into it. Farming data is about a month behind. So I want to keep it at least into January. That's the first part. The second thing is I do 2 years. Why? Because 2 years is better than 1 year, in my opinion. It gives you kind of a bigger snapshot. And then the third part is it makes our math really simple. Okay, so I'm going to click that there, and I'm going to click, we have 724 homes here. I'm going to click add, and it shows 89 sales, right? And if I click sales, I'm going to click add there. Yeah, 89 sales. So quick math here. If our number was 74, okay, that would have been 10%, right? Divided by 2 years, that would have been 5% turnover ratio. We are above 5%, slightly. We are at 89 sales in the last 2 years, which puts our turnover ratio probably in that low 6s, right? Pretty solid. Historical average is 4.5%. That's your historical average. Majority of neighborhoods are above that at this particular point in time because the market is frankly insane. The house down the street from me just went into escrow for 1.150. I thought it was completely overpriced. What do I know? I mean, it's like, it's crazy. So this is a good solid turnover ratio. It's above average. Now, what if this said 4%? Would it scare me away? No. 3.5, would it scare me away? No. If it was in the 2s, it would. All it's telling me, and the most simple way to think about it, is when you have lower turnover ratios, you have a lot of long-term homeowners that live in the farm. Okay, long-term homeowners that have owned for 20, 30, 40 years, they don't move. Okay, so they're dragging the turnover ratio down is what's going on. This one's pretty average. So I would say probably about a 50-50 mix here. I've seen some really high ones recently. But again, we're looking at that 4.5 range. We want to be emotionally tied to it. We want to know about it. We want to like it. And as long as this isn't too low, we like it. Okay. From here, once you've sort of chosen an area and you're ready to pull the trigger, we'll click next. We'll pull the data. Typically we do this together. I'll save the data.
Mark,
Yeah.
how did you do the math? I was trying to see, but I didn't quite catch the math.
Good question. I'm sure there's other people thinking it. So I'm going to come in here to lists, right? We got home, we got reports. These are our property profiles. I come in here to lists. I can type in an address. I can type in a city. I put in Granada Hills. It'll drop me right down there. I always come here to satellite and click labels. If you want to change the map to the road view, you can go ahead and do that way. I prefer this view personally. And then we'll come in and we'll zoom in on an area that we like. Okay. And I will scroll up here. I will click this little pencil, draw polygon. And I will just click around. It will follow me around. Every time I click, it pivots. I will come back, click on it to complete it. I will add 553 properties. Now this is properties. So I come in here and I go property type, residential, single family. And now you can see it dropped it down a little bit. A lot of areas, when you go into Van Nuys, when you go into Sherman Oaks, Studio City, a lot of condos, a lot of apartment buildings, a lot of retail. So we just want to pull what we want. Okay. Now I'm focusing on single family residents. We don't have to focus on single families. Condos are fantastic. Super high turnover ratio because a lot of young people moving in and out. The only deal with condos is, price point tends to be lower and you got to deal with getting in and out of the building. But they turn over at a high rate and they're really just mailer farms, right? You can't really door knock it, right? So all you're going to be doing is mailing and calling, right? Versus with the single families, you actually want to get out there and door knock and get to know people, right? and some people just want to sell homes. But look, there's other stuff in here. Duplexes, triplexes, quads, right? Get into Van Nuys, get into Studio City, Sherman Oaks, a lot of those. That's a neglected part of our industry. And I'll tell you why. Residential agents think it's commercial. It's not. So it's anything 1 to 4 is residential. So you're using the regular standard residential contract. And commercial people think it's too small. They think it's residential. So residential people are afraid of it, and commercial people don't want to do it because it's too small. So you don't get a ton of people marketing to duplexes, triplexes, and quads. And it's a really, really good sector of the market. So when I'm talking about farming, right now we're focusing on geo. I'm kind of training your brain into thinking how to pick a geo farm, but it doesn't have to be like that. I'm going to kind of blow this out a little bit even more, right? But multifamily, all that kind of stuff. And you'll just add your criteria over here, right? So if I put in duplexes, let's see if there's any duplexes. Yeah, we had 1 duplex. And then again, turnover ratio, I come to last transaction recording date. I put in my date, click sales, add it over here, and then it'll give me a turnover ratio. All right, I'll do it one more time for you guys.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
It's Raz. How you doing?
Hi, good, how are you?
All right. Is this being recorded?
I did not record it, but let me check. No, it doesn't look like it's being recorded. I usually don't like.
I see a recording symbol at the top.
Oh, it is recording.
Yeah, I believe Whitney's recording it.
Yeah, I usually don't like being recorded because I do a lot of illegal stuff in this stuff that technically I'm not supposed to do, but hopefully they edit it and delete some of this out.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
But yeah, it looks like it's going to be online for you guys.
Sorry.
Good questions. Keep them coming. Slow me down. So you can see I added the turnover ratio in here. We had 69. I can't remember how many homes there were, about 5 something. So you can see we're kind of hitting that like 6% mark pretty consistently right now, right? And this time last year, we were really more in the 4s in most areas because it was actually kind of slow, believe it or not. Before we went into COVID, it was a little slower. And then once COVID hit, it got really slow. And then June hit and a bomb went off and it hasn't stopped since. So knock on wood, that continues. So any questions on how to do that before I kind of take this a different direction really quick? Okay. Let's talk about different forms of farming because it doesn't just have to be single families, residential in a certain area, right? So let's say we're going to grab a zip code. And I had, for those of you on the call with Harma yesterday, Richard Petz, the short sale guy, was on there. And he's been my client for a while. And he's always asking me very technical questions on how to get people in distress, right? So I'm going to put in 1 zip code here, which is Woodland Hills. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click distressed and I'm going to hit delinquent taxes. 700 people. He asked me how many people in LA County. I was like, dude, a lot. Because there's 701 zip code. These people are all behind on their property taxes. Okay. So I could come in here, I can pull this data. I can run this through phone numbers in a system called Data Finder and get all the phone numbers for these 700 people that are behind on their property taxes, right? Shay at the beginning of the call talked about how she was doing some cold calling, right? Not everybody starts with geo farming. You know, there's a zillion ways to make money in this business. All your farm is really who you're lead generating to. So it could be cold calls. It could be people in tax default. It could be people in foreclosure. It could be probate attorneys, tax attorneys. Could be certain ethnicities, certain property types. Could be FSBOs. Could be expireds. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be in a box. Okay, I have clients that do everything in this business and I've seen it all. So if you have an idea that you think is different that people aren't doing, run it by me. I will tell you flat out, I'm blunt as can be. I will say, no, that doesn't work. I've seen it tried 100 times, or I'll be like, I've never heard that. I kind of like it. Go for it. So there's no right or wrong answer here. So you can see I had 700 people here in 1 zip code that are behind on their taxes, right? We're talking about defaults. We're talking about people getting into distress, getting into trouble. Well, property tax is the first thing that they stop paying, right? So something's going on in these people's lives. So maybe this is a route that you want to go for. I'm going to delete that. And I'm just putting in more criteria over here. So we'll come over here. I'll click surname. You can see all the different Arabic, Armenian, Chinese, Filipino, Hispanic, Indonesian, Korean, Latin, Russian, right? If I want, maybe I want a Hispanic farm. Boom, 647 people, Hispanic speaking Woodland Hills own property in this particular zip code. Maybe that's my farm. I have clients that do this. They only market to Japanese. They only market to Korean. They only market to Chinese. Why? Russian. They speak the same language, right? It's a natural fit for them. So maybe you only want to market to a certain ethnicity in a certain zip code or a certain area. That's your farm. The only downside with that is you can't door knock it, right? Homes are going to be all spread out, right? But you can mail to it. We can get your phone numbers. We can get you emails, and you continue to market to these people. So don't always think of a farm as a necessarily geo area, even though a lot of your mentors and everything can talk about that. There's lots of different ways to make money in this business, okay? So that's another way to do it. Over here in premium, right here I'm in farmless. Farmless is considered free. Premium is considered paid. So I'll come into the premium links, and you can see it just added a lot more criteria here. So the mortgage tab ends up, so I got to put something in here. So I'll put 964. 10,000 homes, mortgage tab. So I can come in here and I can find current market loan to values, short sale candidates. So let me do one of those for you guys since it's being recorded. Maybe some of you are interested in that. Okay, so we got 10,000 homes here. This is south of the Boulevard, Woodland Hills, so pretty good area. I'm gonna hit current loan to value. Okay, now look, what did I do? I went into mortgage, all liens, and it's got all these filters. I'm gonna start with current loan to value. That means their loan amount compared to how much they owe. All right, 100% means I owe $1 million, my house is worth $1 million. Okay, these are short sale candidates. So I'm gonna put in 95 to 150. So you got 130 just on that. That's not the only thing.
What do those numbers represent? What does 95 to 150 mean?
That's the percentage that their loan is to their home value.
Oh, okay.
Right. So assuming my house is worth $1 million, 95 means I owe about 950,000. Okay, and using very round numbers for you guys, but that's essentially what it is. Now with home value skyrocketing, Zillow can't keep track of home ownership in terms of values. This system is going to be pretty similar to Zillow in the fact that it's going to have a standard deviation that's not completely accurate. But you could see 130. That's already a pretty low number. Why? I'm in a pretty desirable location. All right, so let's change it up. And think about this, right? When you guys say, hey, I want short sales in Studio City or Woodland Hills or Encino, I'm not going to be that many, right? But let's say we're going to go into...
Mark, my premium is grayed out. I thought I was registered for it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The premium tab,
Yeah.
and then when I click on the mortgage, it's grayed out. I can't see
We'll get
what
to there in a
it's
second. Probably because you don't have an area put in there, which is what I'm doing right now. So mine would be grayed out too. So let's go to Arleta. We'll get some more short sales in Arleta. So if we want to add more, we can add more. So we're going to go Arleta or Granada Hills. And you can see you can put in more than one criteria here. I don't want to spend too much time on this. So North Hills, North Hollywood, and Northridge. There we go. Now we're getting bigger numbers. So you needed your criteria in here, number one. When you clicked on mortgage, did you have a city in there? I'm sure that was probably just the problem. You didn't have a certain area selected in order for that to be not grayed out. So here's the cities that we pulled. We got 12,000 people that are considered underwater. This is not the end of this search. I need to go to first liens, and I'm going to go to loan type. Okay. Now this is a complicated search that guaranteed very few title reps even know how to do this. But we're going to come in here. I'm going to go conventional.
It's working now, Mark. Thank you.
What's that?
It's working now. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. FHA, negam. That's it. I'm going to leave it at that. So I went from 1,200 down to 700. Why did I put these filters in here? Okay. Current loan to value is based on total loan amounts, right? If I have a balloon payment at the back end of my loan, it's going to increase my loan amount. If I have a construction loan, that's the maximum amount. Like my house might be worth whatever, $1 million, but I'm doing construction on it. My loan amount could be 3 million. My house only worth $1 million right now. So that's not accurate. Conventional, yes. FHA, yes. These are standard loans. HELOC, no. That's a line of credit, right? On the back end of my property. I could have, my house could be worth $1 million. I could owe 800,000, let's just say. But I have a line of credit on the back end for 200,000, right? That I just need in case of a rainy day. Well, what does that mean? That means my loan to value is 100%. It's not really 100% because I haven't used that line of credit, right? So that's why I don't include HELOCs. I don't include private parties. I include negams. We don't have many negams now, but we had them in 5, 6, and 7, and 8. So those are in there. I don't do private party. I don't do reverse mortgages. Again, a reverse mortgage caps out the highest amount of your loan amount. So it's not an accurate descriptive thing here. So those are what I'm going to use. Conventional, FHA, negam. In the cities that I want, 95. I can click next. This is going to be paid down, right? So if I click next, always name it because everything gets saved in the system. I'll add it to my cart. You can see it's 42 bucks, right? So if I wanted to do that, I'd come in here to my cart, put my credit card in, buy the data.
And this particular breakdown are people that you said may be at risk to become short sale people?
Absolutely.
Okay, so not necessarily that they are already short sale, but like you're trying to catch them before they enter a short sale?
Bingo. Bingo. Okay. We just pulled 700.
And do you always put in about those numbers, 95 to 150, or what's the sort of average?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the filtering on the system, I don't think the system can keep up with what home values are, right? So if I was going to be a little bit more conservative with this, maybe I run 110 to 150, right? Because I want them really underwater.
Yeah.
Right. And let me see if I can edit this. I didn't save it, but if I come in here, let's see if it'll let me do it. No, come in here, go to premium. Oh, I didn't order it yet. But let's say if I put in 110 to 95, I wanted people that are really underwater, right? To make sure that the home values coming up in certain areas aren't exceeding it. Maybe my numbers go down from 700 to 400. Right? It could drop that much with that little amount. But I like the 95 because assuming it's accurate, right? Again, assuming it's accurate, we have $1 million home and we have a $950,000 loan amount. After closing costs, taxes, all that kind of stuff, they're going to be at a zero amount.
Right.
So that's why I like the 95 because at the end of the day, it's still technically probably going to be a short sale. Okay.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
When I set my farm with Serene, the first website that she directed me to was Dynamic Farm.
Yeah.
This is a different website that you're using right now. Is it the same thing or is not?
This is a great question. Okay. The reason why it's a great question because a lot of you guys are new, you get confused, and we have a lot of stuff. And we're throwing it at you, right? Not only us, everybody. This is what we use in order to generate whatever farm you're going to be working. Okay.
Okay.
Once we generate the farm, we then plug it into Dynamic Farm.
Gotcha.
Okay. Once it goes into Dynamic Farm, Dynamic Farm is going to be next month's Title II. Okay. We'll do a deep dive on this, but this is going to manage your farming database. Okay. Your mailing database, whatever it's going to be. This is giving you guys ideas, what you're going to do, who you're going to target, how you're going to target it, and why, right? And And I'm not keeping it in the box because I'm not an in the box person. I'm giving you all kinds of opportunities, right? If I was a betting man, that list of 700 that were potential short sale candidates, I bet 35 or 40 of them end up short selling in the next 2 years, right? I'd say about 5%. That's pretty big, right? And again, as Shay mentioned, we're getting them in front of the horse's mouth, right? Because most people don't market this way. They don't go after it this way. But Eric Richard Petz, who was on the call yesterday, this is the kind of data he's looking at. This is the kind of data he's going for. But the reality is the numbers are so big, if you take it on a big macro level, it's a lot, right? But let's just say you're marketing an area in Canoga Park, right? And we just pulled this data in Canoga Park, right? Might only be 30 or 40 or 50. So you can work it at a very small level while you're working other farms. If that makes sense. You don't have to just do one thing all the time, although I recommend it. We can add little wrinkles because as a new agent, the reality is you're trying to get your footing. You're trying to figure out what it is that you're going to do, how you're going to market yourself, how you're going to make money. And new agents tend to dip their foot in the water multiple times to figure out what they're good at, what they can stomach. Maybe you're great on the phones. Maybe you're great at door knocking. Maybe you like open houses. Maybe you only want to work sellers. You like, working 2 to 4s, right? And you're not going to know this until you dive in and check it out, right? So that's really the goal here, is to kind of give you lots of ideas on how you're going to pick a farm, market yourself, or at least just get out there and pick up the phone and start lead generating, right? Because the reality is I'll bet on the person who's going to spend 2 hours a day doing something, even if it's all over the place, rather than the person who's thinking and analyzing for 3, 4, 5 months and doing nothing. If that makes sense, right? Paralysis by overanalysis, right? Don't think too much, just get out there and do, and good things usually happen. Okay, so that was my sort of short sale version of it. And the other one I want to show you, let's click in here, LA County, Agora Hills, Agora Hills, add. And so that was mortgage. I use that for short sales. If I come in here to demographics, age,
Can I also
ethnicity,
ask,
gender. Yeah, go ahead, Shay.
Mark, the difference between what does the distressed section, how is that different than the mortgage filter that you just went through? So I know that like they didn't pay their property taxes, and then this other one is it kind of like the same? Can you get similar results, or how are they different?
So when we're in farmless and we click distressed, farmless is free. It's only going to give us tax defaults. Also keep in mind, whenever we pull any of your farms, tax defaults are going to be in there.
Oh, okay.
Automatically, right? But there's only going to be, whatever, 5% of them, whatever it might be. The distressed tier under the premium tab, foreclosure, REO, extra data, right? So let's see how many foreclosures there are in Agora. I get a lot of people asking me for foreclosures right now. There's not a lot of foreclosures. There's a moratorium on foreclosures.
Mm-hmm.
Banks are technically not allowed to be foreclosing. So now it doesn't mean they're not, because you have to be regulated by Fannie Freddie, right? So it has to be a conventional type loan. But if it's a jumbo loan, if it's a private Benny, if it's a hard money loan, all these other loans, they can foreclose, and they are. So we'll come in here and foreclosure, click add. So there's 16 foreclosures in all of Agora. I didn't put any filters in there. But if I went in here and hit foreclosure type, and I put in pre-foreclosure, NOD, recording date. So let's just run same dates I've been running. Typo problems here. And we will add that. 8. So there's 8 current notices of default in the last 2 years in Agora. That's like nothing, right? It's like nothing. Does that mean only 8 people? And that's why I went with the short sale tab. and will they default on their taxes, right? If I take this, right, we have 16 total in foreclosure, 8 in default, right? So some of them could be a notice of sale, certain things like that. So, whoa, can you get her to be quiet? Sorry, a crazy dog here. I'm going to come in here back to distressed, and I'm going to go delinquent taxes. Yes. 522 of the 9,000 are behind on their property taxes. Only 16 are in foreclosure. Right? You can see the discrepancies here. And let's talk about a little bit about how this works, right? If you're in some form of stress, the first thing you're not going to pay is your property taxes, right? You cannot pay your property taxes for 5 years before something happens, right? So that's a normal, you can see a lot of people aren't paying their property taxes, but it's distress signal number 1, right? Distress signal number 2 would be not paying your mortgages, right? Now, let's face it, I guarantee there is people, probably those 8 foreclosures that we pulled in Agora, they were probably pre-COVID foreclosures. And then COVID hit and they got a reprieve. They probably have not made a mortgage payment in 18 months. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So once the moratorium is lifted, do you think something's going to happen? Of course, they're going to be forced to do something, right? Now, we don't know how the government is going to handle this. We don't know if they're going to really be lenient and make the banks do forbearances or certain things like that. We just don't know. But what we do know is that a lot of those people are going to lose their homes. We know it, okay? And there was 8 people pre-COVID. What do we think the number is now? Right? If you're in entertainment, if you're in the restaurant business, if you're in the hospitality business, if you're in certain industries, you've been hammered, right? And that's just the reality of it. So once the moratorium is lifted, what are these, that 8 in 2 years? Well, I'm betting it might be 40, 50, 60, right? Within the first 6 months that the moratorium is lifted, whenever that happens, right? So this is what I'm trying, this is what we're all, like Karma and everybody, we're trying to get your brain working in terms of, you're going to get these people in your farm, right? Whatever you're working, that are all good. They're making money. They got tons of equity, blah, blah, blah. Those are standard sellers. That is 97% of people out there, maybe 95, right? Maybe a little optimistic. But there is that 5% out there that is struggling, that is behind on their taxes, that's not making their mortgage payment, that has been truly affected by it, that are going to need your help. And you need to be able to work and market all of it. Some people are going to specialize in that distress market and do very, very, very well when it hits. I just don't know what it's going to look like. It's not going to look like 08, 9, 10, 11. It's just not. But it's going to exist. It's going to be there. The other thing is everybody talks about it affecting prices. Hard to say. I do think in areas that are harder hit than others, of course, you're going to see some declines where the numbers are high. But again, in areas that are very stable, that have a low percentage of this, is it really going to affect prices? No. You're going to get investors come in, buying these properties in distress, fixing them up and flipping them, and it's just going to keep doing it, right? So I don't really see I don't see a big drop, right? I mean, I do see I thought we'd see a leveling. It's still going up. It's insane to me. It's crazy. But a leveling, I thought we were level, even though we're still ticking up because rates are so damn low. But a leveling and maybe like a slight decline. Certain price points will be affected, certain property types. We're already feeling it in the condo market quite a bit, actually, believe it or not. The condos are getting a little bit harder to sell if you think about it, right? People don't want to be in a building, in an elevator, they want more space and certain things like that. So the condo market's already been affected. So who knows how it's all going to play out. All I know is that for those of you that work at it every day, it doesn't matter what it is. You work at it every day, you're making the calls, you're picking up the phone, you're sending the mailers, you're reaching out, you're touching people, you're doing your social media, you're working hard every day, and you're educating yourself on how all this stuff works, you're going to win, right? But keep in mind, it's very hard to get started in this business, right? If you If you do 4 deals your first year, you're kind of a rock star, right? So don't put too much pressure on yourself, because as I said, the sales cycle is about 15 months, which is why if we choose, we'll kind of circle back to geo farming. If we choose a geographic area, we better be equipped to market it. Let's go. I want to find my boxes. I like boxes. Right? Let's see. Here's Beverly Hills, right? We choose a geographic area right here. We have to market it consistently for 18 months before we see results. Okay? A Zillow lead, when it comes in off Zillow, somebody typed in their information, said, please contact me. I have 3 or 4 agents. All they work is Zillow leads. 15 months is the average conversion. That's somebody who raises their hand and says, hey, I want to buy that home. 15 months is the average conversion. Some are 3-4 months, that's early. Some are 2 years. Same thing goes with Realtor.com leads, OpCity leads. It's 15 months. You know the game. That's why everything in this business is long-term. Everything is building your database. Everything is contacts, building your database. And that's the name of the game. For those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet with, your personal database, your personal sphere is more important than everything I'm talking about. Okay? Everything I'm talking about sounds cool, sounds great. Hey, I'm interested in this. I want to do this. If you don't have the top 200 or 300 people that you know in an Excel file with their name, their address, their phone numbers, their email addresses, their birth date, their spouse's name, their kids' names, their dogs' names, don't even bother with this until that is done first, because that is where you're going to build your business first. That's the low-hanging fruit. I have clients who've never farmed a day in their life and make 500 grand a year working referral relationships. Okay, so you got to do both, right? For those of you that don't have massive databases of spheres, well, of course, we have to funnel more leads in, right? But just know that, you know, this is just a part of the equation. It's not the whole equation. Okay. I covered a lot here before I sort of change gears. Any questions, anything that wasn't clear, anything that I missed? I know I covered a lot. Luckily, we taped it all. You guys all have access to this, so you can play around with it all you want. But I don't recommend you pulling the trigger on anything until at least you have some sort of consult with Serena, myself, your mentor, talk about your numbers. You get a lot of emails from a lot of you guys. Hey, I want to market this area. I'm like, that's 4,000 homes, narrow it down. That's okay, that's 2,000 homes, narrow it down, right? So, you know, it's amazing what a 20, 30-minute Zoom will do in terms of not knocking you down, like not knocking down, but getting you focused, right? I've been doing this long enough to know what works and what doesn't work, and I'm never going to steer you in a direction that I think you're not going to be productive. So that's really the goal. So any questions on this before I sort of change gears and kind of teaser next month, Title Tuesday? Anyone?
This has all been really great. I really appreciate this, Mark. Thank you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. See, and Shay's actually done a couple of Zooms with me, so always stuff to learn. So we will now transition into dynamic farming. I'm not going to cover this too much, but once we choose an area that we're going to market consistently, right? Whatever it is, the tax falls in your money. Once we're going to market something consistently, and that means over and over and over for a year or 2 years, we will take that data out of here. Again, I will run it for phones and emails for you guys, and then we will plug it into here, okay? Now, this system, you can't automatically take information and put it in yourself. Technically you can, but I just don't recommend it. We will plug it into this particular system, and then we will go over the data together, okay? And this is gonna manage your mailing lists. Mailing lists only. So next month, we're gonna cover dynamic farm. You can see it shows the turnover ratio. We can click on the farm. It has all the ownership information. We'll talk about the cleanup process, removing trusts, LLCs, brokers. But the reality is once your database is in here, it is going to automatically update all the time. Your CRM does not update unless you update it. Okay, your CRM is something that you're doing itself. This data is always going to be up to date. And if we want to send a mailer, come right here, we download the Excel file. So don't confuse Dynamic Farm with your CRM. It's not your CRM. It is strictly managing your mailing database. If you are not mailing, if you're a cold caller, we don't need it. We don't use it. Okay? That's what this system is for, managing mailing database. Or maybe you just want to track a neighborhood, right? Totally fine. You want to track a neighborhood, see what's going on, right? The funny part is I actually pulled this data for an agent one time. I was doing a presentation. He's a killer. He's like #1 agent in there. And I was doing a presentation with him on how to use this to save money on his mailers and get a little return on ROI, right? And then I got an update. There was a recent buyer. And I wonder if he's still in here. No, he's not. But anyway, a recent buyer, you can see they pop up in green. Right? So we're getting updates on the area. Well, it was one of my buddies, like really, really good buddies that I went to grade school and high school with. And I knew he was a baller, but I didn't quite understand to the extent of which he was balling, because his name popped up in here and he bought an $8 million property. And he didn't even sell his other property to buy it. I'm like, what? I literally texted him and I took a picture of it. I was like, what the WTF? But it wasn't WTF. It was like, what? It's like, bro, like, that's a little out of hand. So even if you're just getting updates on an area where you live or work or certain things like that, it's pretty handy, okay? So we're going to do a deep dive into Dynamic next week. Looks like we're kind of coming up to our hour here. I did a good job packing it all in. Let's open it up for any questions, side questions, personal questions. Anything I missed?
I do have another question. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Mark, about that. So now that I figured out the difference, I do have an account on Dynamic Farm, and my farm, Serene put it there, but I don't seem to have one on Title Pro. And what if I want to go on Title Pro and experiment some other stuff or find other information? Do I need a separate account for that? Like, what's the situation?
Yeah, you definitely should have an account. Maybe you have it and don't know.
That's also problem.
Yeah, the YouTube link that I put on the chat right here. There might be some questions in here. I can't hear what you said. Something wrong with your internet. Oh, sorry. We're gonna see the video once it's uploaded. There we go. So people are commenting here. Okay. So there we go. So the YouTube link at the very top, right? That right there gives you guys, it's a literally step-by-step full instructions on how to create your account, start your account, property profiles, all the links, the preferences, how to use Title Pro from start to finish. And then there's bonus material behind it, right? So it's a very like quick version of a lot of what I did today, but step-by-step showing you how to do it. So just go to that YouTube link. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
One of the assistants for another rep texted me today. She was asking about mail merging. And I said, look at my video. And so at like the 21-minute mark of my video, it's 3 minutes on mail merging. She was like, oh my God, that was so easy. Thank you. You know, so there's a lot of stuff in there.
Thank you so much.
Good question.
Mark, I have a question.
Yes.
So the Dynamic Farm is for the mailing list. What about the phone numbers for the cold calling? Will you help us with that, or?
Separate, yeah. So what happens is I pull the data from Dynamic, right? The Excel file.
Right.
I plug it into a system. It's going to spit out phones and emails. I'm going to email you that Excel file. So
Okay.
you have the Excel file. You can do whatever you want. Some people try to print. Some people put it in their CRM. It's really up to you. And then the other part goes into Dynamic Farm.
Okay.
And
All right.
then if we purchase data through like distressed and mortgage, that will also generate phone numbers and emails?
You would have to either send it to me to do it.
I meant, Title Pro, not.
Title Pro, don't buy the phone numbers on Title Pro. There's not as many and they're not as good. Okay. So for those of you that are do-it-yourselfers, I'm going to show you a couple different resources here. These are good questions. So the system that I use is called Data Finder. Okay. I just create my own account. I come in here. If we want to add money to the account, you can see credits. I don't even want to tell you what I spend on this monthly for you guys, but I spend a lot. And this is the part I don't want recorded, but it is. But you can create your own account, right? So 200, put a 200 bucks in there. That'll last you a long time, right? That lasts me like a couple days. But so what happens is we take the data, and then I'll just go to my data dashboard. You kind of upload and you map it in there, and then it will then pull phones and emails. And you can see some of the hit rates I get, 89%, 83, 80, 85. These are phone number hit rates. Are all these phone numbers going to be completely accurate? Of course not. We'll probably hit about 70%. But you can see we're getting really good numbers here, right? Phones and emails. So if you want to take data out of Title Pro, you upload it into this system, and then it will pull phones and emails for you. You just have to pay for it. Or send it to me and I'll get it for you, right? The reality is, you know, I want to arm you guys with as much as you can so that you guys get deals to send us deals, right? And I'll pick up the tab on a lot of stuff until maybe the requests get a little out of hand. I have clients who get out of hand. I say, give me your damn credit card, right? So it's fine. And so that's data finder. Now, if we're looking for individuals on a one-on-one basis, Fast People Search. This is an awesome website. I dumped LexisNexis and RealCloud, which I was paying hundreds of dollars a month for, because I was getting better data here at Fast People Search. So you can literally come in here, name, phone number, address, reverse directory. Sometimes, you know, you get an email from somebody and it's like literally from like a phone number. It's like their phone sent a text message and sent you an email, right? So you don't have the contact in there. I literally just plug the phone number right in here and it's kicking me out. And boom, it tells me who the client was that sent an email. So at least I know who I'm talking to. So I use this thing daily. What are we? Bicycles. Think. And the only little downside with this is, here's what I do when I'm looking up a phone number. The first thing I do is I come in here and I check the ownership here, right? So let's say I was looking for the owner of this one here, right? So I see it's Ali. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna grab that address. And I'll start with the address and I'll plug it in here. And I'll click that. And so Ali, there he is, right? So that's why I check it first. I want to verify who the ownership is, because sometimes you come into Fast People Search. Troy, can you be quiet, please? Sometimes I come into Fast People Search and the person, the owner's name's not showing up here. Why? They probably rent the property. So it's showing like the tenant's names and certain things like that. So I'll click on Ali. There's the address. And we got phone numbers. Boom. All right. I was paying a lot of money to get this stuff. And then boom, we got an email address. Right. Now, let's say his name didn't show up in that first part. I'd come in here, I'd plug his name in here, address, hit free search, and boom, names are going to show up. The other thing that we see here is that, can you guys get out of here? The other thing we see in here is that it will pull, obviously, previous addresses, associates, and neighbors. He doesn't have many associates. It's kind of weird. Usually you'll get a whole list of wife and kids and relatives and certain things like that, right? So what I see a lot of right now is people trying to find owners of vacant homes and old people and deceased people, right? Because when people die, their homes stay vacant for like, sometimes up to 2 years because it's in a probate or certain things like that. Families mourning, maybe they don't live around here. So they're always trying to figure out how to find out, contact the owners, right? So this is free. This is awesome. To go another level to get those extra phone numbers that maybe we didn't get here. Well, bonus coverage here. Good question. See, one question leads to another question all the time.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else we want to cover? All right. I think I've given you guys enough to chew on for a day. That's it. Yeah. I think we have the new agent orientation where we do cover a lot of the products and tools and services. If you haven't been on board, check that out. It's very valuable. And then next Title Tuesday next month, we'll be diving into dynamic farms. So in the meantime, You guys, if you don't have an account, go to the YouTube video, set it up. You can do it all on your own. All the instructions are there. Play around with it. Think about what you want to market, how you want to market it. And then if you want to confirm all this, you set up some Zooms with us and we move the process forward. So we're here to help. Thank you guys so much. If you have any personal stuff, oh, kitty. If you want to reach out separately after it, that's great. We're here to help, and everybody have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.